Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a deeply profound question derived directly from the original teaching of the Lord Buddha. What knowledge and views are needed to attain Sotāpanna? It's an absolutely fascinating look into the actual mechanics of enlightenment. So if you've ever been curious about how radically shifting your perspective can fundamentally alter your reality, well, you are in the exact right place. Let's discover this together.
Okay, let's dive into this because there's a very common misconception out there. When we hear about attaining major spiritual milestones, especially something as monumental as Sotāpanna, we almost automatically assume it requires lifetimes of grueling physical hardship, right? Like isolating yourself in a cave or performing some impossible feats of endurance. But is it truly out of reach for a dedicated learner like you or me? Well, the source material tells a very different and honestly a much more encouraging story.
To answer that, we first need to get absolutely clear on what Sotāpanna actually is. The word translates to stream entry. It's the first major milestone on the path to ultimate liberation. And here is the truly beautiful part. It is absolutely not achieved through physical difficulty or suffering. Instead, it's achieved by developing perfect clarity. It's entirely about acquiring the correct perspective on ultimate reality. So yes, it is highly accessible provided you grasp the correct practice and really understand the fundamental truths of existence.
To help us break down these profound concepts logically, here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the path to Sotāpanna itself. Then we'll cover establishing right view, followed by the dual concepts of knowledge and view. After that, we'll deconstruct the five khandhas, and finally, we'll tackle the illusion of self.
Starting off with Section 1, the path to Sotāpanna, and why it's really all about a shift in understanding.
Reaching this state requires a total paradigm shift. You see, we aren't trying to change the physical world around us. We're completely rewiring how we perceive our existence within it. The original teaching of the Lord Buddha insists that this attainment isn't inherently difficult, at least not in the way we usually define difficulty. It's not about heavy lifting. Instead, it requires profound clarity and the exact knowledge to practice correctly. Blind, brute force effort? That's going to get you nowhere. But targeted, crystal clear understanding? That is the true vehicle for transformation.
Moving right along to Section 2, establishing right view. This is literally the absolute foundation of the whole practice.
You simply cannot build a house on a crooked foundation, and you definitely cannot attain stream entry without correcting your inner lens. So the absolute crucial starting point is grasping this Pali term Samma-ditthi. This means right view. It's defined as seeing correctly according to Satcha, which is ultimate truth. It means seeing things perfectly without any deviation. Without perfectly aligning with ultimate truth, our everyday perception is always going to be flawed. It gets distorted by our biases, our desires, and just our general ignorance. Developing right view is the ultimate course correction.
All right, let's get into Section 3, knowledge and view. Think of these as the dual pillars of a Sotāpanna.
To successfully operate with Samma-ditthi, the mindset of a Sotāpanna actually relies on two distinct yet deeply connected layers, and this brilliantly illustrates the difference between them. On one hand, we have knowledge, or jnana. This is the profound understanding that whatever is subject to origination is naturally subject to cessation. Basically, if it arises, it must fall. That is an absolute law. On the other hand, we have view, or ditthi. This is the perspective that the components of our existence, the five khandhas, are not self. They are not you.
Now, these two pillars are completely linked together. As this quote perfectly summarizes, because one knows that whatever arises naturally ceases, a perfect view is formed that the khandhas are not self. The absolute knowledge of constant arising and ceasing is exactly what produces the view of non-self. Think about it. If something is constantly vanishing, how could it possibly be your permanent, enduring identity? It simply can't.
Now we keep mentioning these khandhas, so let's jump to Section 4, the five khandhas, where we actually deconstruct this idea of self.
To truly understand the illusion of the self, we have to break it down into its actual ultimate components. What you and I mistakenly call our self is really just a dynamic collection of these five khandhas, which together make up the body and mind. First up is rupa, our physical form and body. Second is vedana, our feelings, whether they're pleasant, unpleasant, or just neutral. Third is sanya, our perception and memory. Fourth is sankhara, our mental formations and thoughts. And fifth is vijnana, our consciousness or awareness. Literally every human experience you have ever had is just a combination of these five elements firing off. There is no magical tiny person sitting inside your head pulling the levers of a self. There are only these khandhas. And notice how these khandhas map perfectly to Arya Sakha, the noble truths. Looking at how this breaks down, the 5 khandhas themselves represent dukkha, or suffering. The body and mind, by their very impermanent nature, are suffering. Our ignorance of how these khandhas actually function, well, that is samudaya, the cause of suffering, because it's what creates the illusion of a permanent self in the first place. Therefore, developing perfect view, actually seeing the khandhas as not self, is magga, the exact path to liberation. Seeing these components clearly for what they are is exactly how you realize the ultimate truth.
Which brings us to our final section, number 5, the illusion of self, and how we break through conventional reality.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our final paradigm shift. To really grasp not self, let's ground this abstract philosophy into something super tangible. Imagine a drinking glass. Step 1, society universally agrees to call this object a glass. This is conventional truth, or lokasamanya in Pali. It's a useful label. But step 2, in ultimate reality, the glass does not actually exist. What exists is just ceramic material that has been shaped in a specific way. Step 3, therefore, the entity we call the glass is merely a useful illusion. It's just a title we give to the shaped ceramic so we can communicate with each other.
This is exactly how the concept of you works. Self is just conventional language used to communicate. It's lokasamanya. By ultimate truth, there is absolutely no self within the 5 khandhas. Just like the word glass is a necessary tool for us to ask for a drink of water, the word self is a necessary tool for us to navigate society. But if you search the actual ingredients, the rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, and vijnana, you will not find a self in there. Just like you won't find the essence of a glass inside a lump of raw ceramic.
Achieving Sotapanna means realizing this truth so deeply that it fundamentally changes you forever. So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to ponder. When you look at your own self today, when you feel a strong emotion or think a sudden thought, are you seeing the true ceramic of the khandhas, those temporary, arising and ceasing elements? Or are you still just holding on to the illusion of the glass? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer through the original teaching of the Lord Buddha. Until next time, keep exploring and keep seeking clarity.